Hey guys, this is Kastle, and I'm back here with Sarah81. Today we're going to be doing a tips and tricks video, this time with an emphasis on laser tag, as opposed to paintball, which I did last time. Um, Laser tag has a couple nuances, in which it's a little bit different than paintball. There's only one game mode, all points based, as opposed to kills versus deaths, and there are only two maps for this game mode, as opposed to paintball, which has a lot. Other things is a smaller population, so the players that you will encounter are typically a little bit more advanced, so there's a steeper learning curve. That being said, the target population for this video is going to be directed towards more moderate intermediate level to advanced level players in order to help me hopefully get you to an even better spot, maybe even league status. For basics, this may not be the video for you, but if you have any questions that I don't cover in the video, you can look down in the comments below. For credentials, we have been playing for a couple years pretty consistently. We also just recently participated in the last Season 5 of the Laser Tag League, and we played against the best players and with some of the best players in the entire game when it comes to laser tag. So hopefully we have a lot of great advice to give you. Hopefully you'll be able to learn something. If you're not able to, well, that's unfortunate, but I'm sure there will be something for everyone. Also, this is a primarily walking-based tutorial. If you go on Reddit, Goofus/Doofus has a great teleporting written guide, so I'll put the link below, and that's something you can check out if you want to focus on that. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Enjoy. Laser tag basics and gameplay. Laser tag, unlike paintball, is completely point-based. The first team that reaches 400 points is the team that wins the match. You accumulate points by destroying bots and by tagging players. That being said, players are tagged by downing their health. So it's not an instant kill like paintball, and this comes with a lot of nuances. And we're going to be going over a lot of the weapons and other ways that you can down players, as well as destroy bots. Another thing to consider is it's much more heavy on team play and strategy than paintball is. You can't get lucky shots in. And I've seen teams with individual players with lower skills completely destroy teams with higher level skill players simply because they were able to communicate better and able to use their strategy more appropriately. So overall, there's a steeper learning curve, but hopefully with the things that I go over today, you can benefit and improve. In laser tag, you have 4 basic weapons, grenades, and 2 power weapons. Over the next 2 clips, we're going to be showing you gameplay of each and going over some of the pros and cons and overall utilization of each. The burst gun has the highest rate of fire, but it also has the lowest damage output. Overall, I would say the DPS for the burst gun is relatively low, actually lowest of all the basic guns. That being said, it does have high accuracy because of the amount of bullets it does fire, but in actual competitive gameplay, I wouldn't recommend using it consistently. The only 2 scenarios I can think of it being useful in is shooting grenades from a distance, or for perhaps laying down suppression fire and preventing healing in a person that you can't quite get with a pistol or with a railgun. The railgun is a slow firing sniper. It acts similarly to the paintball sniper, but it requires reloading and it doesn't have a scope on it. Overall, I would say the DPS is moderate compared to the other gun. It requires a lot of accuracy, but if you can land those headshots, it will lower the health 3/4 for every headshot that you get. So essentially, if you land 2 headshots back to back, the railgun is useful in that regard. It also has an extremely high knockback, so it's great for destroying elite bots and other bots and taking them out from a distance. In competitive gameplay, I wouldn't recommend it consistently being used. Some players I've seen have been able to use it pretty well because they're very accurate with it, but as opposed to the next 2 guns that we're going to be talking about, I would recommend limiting its use as much as possible. This weapon has a moderate fire rate, however at a close range it has perhaps the highest DPS. It only takes 2 shots to lower someone from full health to completely dead. That being said, at close ranges, it has a very high utilization. I would always recommend trying to put one on your back It's very useful for clearing out bots, and it's also useful actually killing enemies at a close range. So this is something to consider. It's also very user-friendly as opposed to some of the other weapons. It's really hard to miss with a shotgun. I just wouldn't rely on it consistently, as it can be a handicap to your overall playing if you're not careful. It's great for ambushes and for those elite bots, which can take a lot of clips of the pistol to kind of stun and down. It can deal with those in only 3 to 4 shots, so that is something to consider. The laser tag pistol is the bread and butter of laser tag. It's the one that everyone will spawn in with at the beginning of the game, and even if it was the weapon that you didn't spawn in with, just like the other ones, it would still be the one that I would recommend using the most. That being said, it has a great fire rate, second highest of any of the basic weapons. It has a great DPS at any range. Now, it is, of all the basic weapons, it is the most user dependent. You need to have skill, accuracy, and you generally have to use it. That being said, I'm going to dedicate a section to kind of aiming, talking about fire rate, and other little tips for accuracy later on, but for overall utilization, I would recommend this over any other weapon. The CJC power weapon is a minigun. It's great for clearing and taking out bots, but please be cautious when trying to use it against other players, because not only does it increase your hitbox and make you a giant target, its actual DPS is very poor in comparison with like other weapons such as the pistol. The only real situation I can recommend its use is an advanced technique in which you dual wield it with another weapon such as a pistol or shotgun. Its overall utilization in actual competitive gameplay, however, is fairly low. The hanger power weapon, on the other hand, is great. It has an instant kill with a direct hit, and it's great for clearing out bots as well. The reactionary explosion shot also acts like a grenade, so if you do miss that direct hit for the instant kill, it can still kill enemies. Overall utilization is very high with this weapon. I would greatly recommend it, and fear it if an opponent has it in their possession. The laser tag pistol. We've already gone over the laser tag pistol and utilization, but let's talk about some more basics. So to start off with, it's the gun that you spawn in with every match, so it's something you need to be really good at. With regards to the hitboxes, typically it's 6 shots to the body and 4 shots to the head in order to kill someone, and let me demonstrate that to you. 6. And that's going to be pretty consistent across the board. Now you can mix and match these shots. You can do 4 shots to the body and then 1 shot to the head. You can do 2 shots to the body and 3 shots to the head, and that'll be fairly consistent for you. Let me show you. Let's do 1 shot to the head and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So mix and match however you want to do it there. Now the next thing to talk about is positioning, how to get accurate shots with the pistol. Generally speaking, it's pretty user dependent. Whatever position that you hold the gun in and works for you is the one that you should use. The way I do it is I like to fully extend my hand when I shoot, and that kind of locks my arm in, and I can move it around like this in any position and I keep it steady. What I've seen people do with really good efficacy is actually they lock in their pistol to the side. This is known as hip firing. They lock in their elbow into their body, and this helps stabilize like this. And so a lot of people use this really effectively as well. So really, it's up to you. One thing that I've noticed people do is they tend to have a little bit of a tilt with their pistol, and it's a couple reasons why you do this. But one, it's the reload mechanism is a little bit closer to your offhand, so it's a little bit easier in that way and more consistent reloading. Second is you get the reticle a little bit, or reticle, no, reticle. The reticle, you get it out of the line of sight, so it's yeah, because you never use that. Get that out of the way, and it's in a slightly more natural position. So maybe try at an angle as opposed to kind of firing in this way, and you might like that more. The next thing we need to discuss is how to get a consistent fire rate. If you reload in the proper way, you can actually fire in a manner where your fire is consistent, almost like a machine gun. Now mine is a little bit iffy right now because I'm using the streamer cam, but let me show you the basics, then I'm actually going to get Sarah to kind of demonstrate what this will look like in actual gameplay. So the idea is you're going to reload the moment you fire, or the moment after you fire. And if you time it right, your bullet should have no delay between the first bullet at the end of the first clip and the next bullet after you reload it. So in slow motion. You can see I'm reloading in the proper timing to where there is no delay between bullets. Now, generally speaking, you can do this in between any interval, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4. There are 5 bullets in each clip. Generally speaking, I like to do it in 4s because it makes it a little bit easier to count shots, because it's all based off of 6 shots to the body and 4 shots to the head. So it's just a little bit easier to deal with. But you can do it in any way you want. Find the rhythm that works for you. And now to show you what good continuous firing looks like, I'm going to get Sarah to demonstrate for us. Notice there's almost no delay between movements. You're going to see a lot of expert players use this a lot. If there was any skill that I would recommend focusing on above anything else, it would be this. Get this timing down, and you're going to see your gameplay increase dramatically. Grenade basics. Grenades in laser tag act similarly to grenades in paintball. So if you watch my other video, you already know a good starting point. That being said, let me just kind of reiterate and review. You want to cook grenades. This involves kind of dropping their grenade temporarily and then re-grabbing it so that it starts cooking while you're still holding it. And I think it takes about 4 seconds from the time that you activate it to the time it explodes. So use that and then try to get it to where when you throw, your grenade is going to blast them instantly, so they have no time to dodge or react. This takes a lot of prediction. That being said, there are a few things about laser tag grenades that are different from paintball. First of all, the area of effect is more crucial. The center of the area of effect is the only area that will actually take a player from full health to 0 health. So you'll notice sometimes if you don't line it up perfectly, they will not actually take all the damage that they could from a grenade. So this is why aiming is crucial. That being said, also for defensive purposes with grenades, if you are near a grenade, try to get away from the center of the grenade as possible, and that'll maximize your chances for survival. Other things to consider, you can work on lobs to get over surfaces, kind of just toss it up lightly and let them drop over ledges and towers. You can also use surfaces like walls and other platforms to bounce against, and this can add kind of an advanced technique in your throws and kind of get around the nooks and crannies of the map that you wouldn't with just a simple throw. So these are all things to kind of utilize. One thing not to do is avoid trying to kill yourself as much as possible. So I've seen players, they kind of grab the grenade, cook it, and rather than trying to throw it, they just run up to a person and let themselves die. Grenades act differently here in that they will kill you. And what this does is, while you do get the 10 points for killing the person, you also lose 10 points for killing yourself. So the net effect of doing this is 0. The only time I would actually do the kamikaze approach is if you're surrounded by enemies or you have no chance of surviving. So for instance, you're at 10% health and you have a grenade and you have no other option but to kamikaze. Or if you're in a large group of enemy, then yeah, go for it. Some advanced techniques, try to learn to throw with your offhand. So your shooting hand, you'll see me playing with I'll be using my dominant hand in order to throw, and this is just a bad habit that I've formed. Some of the best players that I've seen have been able to throw with their offhand, so they aim with their dominant hand, they grab grenades with their offhand, and they can still aim with their dominant hand, throw with their offhand, and it works the best for them. And this is what I would recommend trying to work on. Another thing, an advanced tip, is returning grenades. Sometimes when players throw grenades at you, you can grab it before it explodes and throw it back at them. It takes a lot of timing and precision, and it's also very risky rather than trying to run away from grenades. So unless you can do it, I would always recommend running away from the grenade rather than returning it. But if you've got no other option, like you're stuck in a corner or something, grab that grenade and throw it. But other than that, grenades are incredibly useful, and they are probably going to make up a large portion of your kills once you get really good with them. And you'll see it'll be used a lot in competitive gameplay as well. In laser tag, movement is crucial to overall gameplay. It is crucial to offense, and it is crucial to defense. Typically, when you encounter 1v1 situations, you're going to want to vary your movements as much as possible. However, if you move too erratically, then that can also pay a cost towards your overall accuracy as well. So you have to find kind of a balance point between how much movement you do and still being able to maintain a good accuracy. Typically what I do when I encounter 1v1 situations with a pistol, I usually just strafe from side to side. Typically this just involves moving the controller joystick back and forth, or if you're on PSVR, just kind of tilting your hand back and forth just to go back and forth. It makes it a little bit harder for your opponent to hit you. You can also kind of augment this by including some real life movement. Usually for me it just kind of consists of tilting my whole body back and forth, but sometimes if it's a really intense fight, I'll actually sidestep back and forth. Other things you can do is you can try to incorporate jumping in your movements. This is more of an advanced technique, but you'll be seeing players jumping around and going back side to side. This does pay a pretty heavy toll on overall accuracy, but it can be a pretty good way of kind of dodging your opponent's attacks towards you if you can maintain that accuracy. So it's something I would highly recommend you work on, is trying to incorporate not only side-to-side movement, kind of ducking and moving in real life tilting, but also jumping with the jump button. And if you can incorporate all of those, not only are you going to be really hard to hit, but you're just going to be a really worthy opponent. Other things you can do include potato walking, and this is the walking glitch that I mentioned in my paintball video. I'm not going to really go through the instructions again, but you can check out that tutorial for further instructions there if you want to check it out. Sliding is a really good way of moving around. With regards to actual speed, sliding forward and sideways doesn't really increase your speed much, but if you slide backwards, and you can do this by starting in a different direction, jumping, pushing the slide button, and then sliding while turning backwards, this can make your backwards momentum much quicker than just walking backwards. So there's one thing I would highly recommend you work on trying and practicing. Another thing that you can do is slide after you've jumped off a really high surface. So whenever you jump off a surface, I would recommend initiating that slide button, and that'll increase momentum, give you a little boost, and that can help you move around a little bit faster. Another thing with movement is kind of dealing with grenades. Grenades are heavy, they're really hard to dodge because there's such a wide area of effect. The way that I kind of typically avoid them is just kind of keeping an eye on where the area of effect is. Just trying to get away from the center as much as possible, so if the grenade is tossed high, I try to get as low as possible. Tossed low, I might even jump. Getting behind walls can be really helpful, so find a wall that you can kind of hide behind, and then give yourself some good space in order to kind of calculate for the fact that the area of effect will kind of go through the wall with some limitation. Another thing I like to do is known as the grenade feint. And with walking, it's when you see someone kind of cooking a grenade and they're going to prepping it to throw it at you. What you can do is you can kind of start walking in one direction, and because they're going to try to predict where your movement is, they're going to throw where you're going to move. And rather than going towards that same direction, quickly change directions and go the other direction. And a lot of times this will cause them to throw the grenade further away. It won't always protect you, but sometimes it'll give you just enough time for you to get out of the main area of effect and give you that couple seconds you need to kind of survive. I've saved myself on numerous occasions using this grenade feint. But other than that, try to vary your movements and move around as much as possible. The person that stays still will die. Hanger map strategy. So we're going to talk just a couple minutes about basic strategies for how to deal with hanger. We're going to talk about some terminology like the different sides and the different areas that you kind of want to stay in. This is a very basic strategy guide. There are a lot of advanced techniques and other ways of like forcing spawn locations and that type of thing. I'm not going to discuss those. I'm just going to keep it to like the different sides and what my recommendation on where to begin is. So just starting off, let's orient ourselves, right? We've got two spawns. We've got the blue spawn and we've got the red spawn, and this is where we're going to start at the beginning of the game. The hanger spawns are pretty, it makes sense. You can spawn in this general area, and then you spawn over here in this general area as well. What the two sides I'm just talking about is typically when we spawn in, we refer to the two sides of the map as opposed to the two spawn areas as being grenade side and the lobby side. And the reason why it's the lobby side is because if you come over here and look through there, that's where the lobby is. The reason we say the grenade side is because this is the side with all the grenades. So you got grenades back there, we got grenades in the ship, and this is the bench area. We've got grenades in the shotgun room area, and more grenades in the ship over there. So generally speaking, the most basic strategy when spawning in tends to be trying to focus on the grenade side of the map. Because grenades are so powerful in this game and there's a lot of cover kind of on the outside, most of the game tends to be revolve around this area. So when I spawn in, a lot of the times what I'll do is I'll kind of run in this general area, grab a grenade, like for instance this one over here, and I'll just kind of lob it in this area to stop them from having a grenade spawning over there. Now, typically you can also, some other strategies involve kind of taking over the lobby side, and there are ways where you, for instance, you can kind of jump up here, get on top of this area, and you can kind of snipe with your gun. There are no grenades in this area, so you have to watch out for incoming grenades from the grenade side, but generally speaking, this also has a lot of cover. It has a shotgun over here, and a lot of the spots will spawn over here as well, so you can't avoid this area. And this is also a good place to kind of react if they have grenade side. If the enemy has grenade side, you can come on lobby side and kind of route around into their spawn. So what I wouldn't recommend, however, is coming too much into the center. There is some areas where you can kind of get cover here and run around here, and it's good for kind of cutting across if you want to get onto lobby side, but this area right here is a death trap. However, the power weapon does spawn here, so you do have to come here at one point, but I definitely would not recommend just sitting in this area, because more likely than not, grenades are going to be coming in here, and you've got people on lobby side sniping you from over there. So that's kind of my basic strategy guide for Hangar. Cyberjunk City strategy guide. So Cyberjunk City is a bigger and more open place than Hangar, so there's a lot more movement, a lot more places to hide and kind of escape from fire. The general two different spawns that you're going to see is the teal side spawn over here, and you're going to see the orange side spawn over here. So that's where you're going to typically spawn in. Orange typically they get spawned in this area, and they'll spawn down in the basement down there. Teal typically doesn't spawn in the basement, and they'll spawn kind of in their spawn area, and they'll spawn kind of over here. All right. So as opposed to Hangar, which you have the lobby side and you have the grenade side, grenades are scattered all throughout the map on each side here. So typically we refer to the two sides of the map as being alley side over here, and we have highway over here. And you can see why it's highway versus alley. Now there's been a lot of discussion as to which side of the map is better. There's a lot of cover on each side of the map. I personally kind of prefer highway because it's a little bit easier to get from lower locations like lower highway and upper highway, a little bit easier to get up. There's this area here you can come up, you can get in over here, maybe on the sign and the ramp and ladders and everything. There's also, I believe, one extra grenade on this area. So, and that's just why I like it. Alley, however, also has a lot of grenades, a lot of places to hide, and it has ladders to get up. A few places you can get up to the top of Alley from over here. There's a ladder over there, and there's also an area here. So typically most games seem to revolve around both teams kind of on either side, either on highway side or alley side, and lobbing grenades back and forth. The places that I wouldn't recommend being is in this area here, the transition zone from orange spawn, or even over here kind of on the blue, the teal ramp. These two areas seem to be a little bit more exposed. And then center, obviously, I see a lot of players kind of running across center in order to change sides, and this place is extremely exposed. Another place is trying to avoid staying kind of in this hangar area, in this basement area. You can kind of run around here to escape, and generally if you are going to try to escape from basement and try to get back up onto the upper levels, I would definitely recommend using these backdoor escapes as opposed to trying to just run through these giant open gaps where people can lob grenades and they can kill you. So that's generally my recommendation. You have two sides, pick a side, try to stay in that area, and you definitely need to coordinate with your team. That would be my approach. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video and taking the time to kind of sit through the lengthy explanations and everything. There's a lot to explain, so that's why it took a lot of time, but hopefully you're able to get some good information out of it and learn some stuff. I will say, just as kind of a disclaimer, once again, I'm not the best laser tag player in the world. I've played with a lot of really good players and I've taken from them advice and watched their gameplay. But um, one thing I would recommend is, rather than just taking my advice for everything, what you can do is you can actually join the Laser Tag League Discord, and I'm going to put the link down below. What they have on the Discord is they have games with actual commentary from the refs over like different strategies, tactics. So that would be a great place to start. Once you've finished watching my video, go check those videos out. Watch actual competitive gameplay and kind of see what my instructions said and compare and contrast. And I think that would really benefit you. Another thing I'd like to discuss is the limitation behind what platform you're using. It's tough for me to admit this, but a lot of your skill isn't just based on actual skill and practice. A lot of it tends to be what rig you're using. So for Sarah and I, we both use the Oculus and we play on PC, and we use the Oculus app, specifically the CV1. And this tends to be one of the better platforms to use. It has less lag spikes, there's improved latency, and with the continuous fire rate that we discussed earlier, actually you can fire a little bit faster, and they've done tests and it's actually proven as compared to like Quest or PlayStation, you can fire just a little bit faster. So that's something to keep in mind. And that's not to say that the Quest 1 or Quest 2 or the PlayStation are inferior by any regards. There's just some limitations that are known. There's still plenty of players on those platforms that are great and have played in the league, but that's just something to be aware of. Vive and the Index, those are also both great platforms as well. Anyways, once again, thanks for watching. If you have any comments, anything you want to ask, or anything else you want to add, you can comment down below, and I'll take a look at that. Make sure to subscribe to Sarah's YouTube channel there. I'll put the link down below. She's got some videos coming up, so you should check those out. Anyways, have a great new year, and I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you later. Bye.